This is the Afterbrews, of course, sponsored in part by Trek CBD.
I'm Gavin Vincent, and this is
you can find them
Ryan
at
Smeltz. You've
and
been watching
more
the
episodes of
Afterbrews,
Business
and our
Brews,
guest
Afterbrews,
this
and our
evening
new
was
podcast, How to Build a
Connor
Business
Brews,
During a
Sean,
Pandemic.
there is
Business
Charles Moore
Moore.com.
of CNS
My
Customs.
name, of course, is Ryan Smeltz.
My name is Gavin Vincent.
Late night party thought when the night gets lonely. I don't want to be just an in between, some old faithful flame when you're all going wrong.
Quick was.
Okay. But okay. All right.
Yeah.
So we're good.
All right, cool.
So what he said, he had a question, but
Yeah, I can't. Here we are. His question is: most 21-year-old focus
That is a great question.
All right, so
You want to
first
repeat
part
that
of
one,
that,
Ryan? Yeah. So he said, how did you come up with at 21 years old? How did you become so entrepreneurial, and how did you manage to actually be able to figure out how to lead people successfully? I guess
So-
in a nutshell.
So first part of it, I think I've always had kind of an entrepreneurial drive, and I knew that I would end up in that realm at some point.
Right.
And it really just took finding the right opportunity and getting there, and having that, be put in front of me. And I think a lot of people are like that. I think a lot of times that opportunity doesn't necessarily come at 21,
Right.
which is why it's pretty rare to see 21-year-old entrepreneurs. But I think there are a certain traits that are kind of inherent in people that make them good entrepreneurs and someone who's crazy enough to take this kind of a leap. As far as learning to lead others and lead others to be successful, I mean, first of all, that's something that I'm actively working on getting better at. I'm not, proclaiming to be an expert on that by any means. But I think a lot of that comes again from just being in positions of leadership in the past, and in my limited leadership experience, just being able to see when that goes well, and taking some degree of pride in seeing people that you've previously led succeed, and then themselves taking positions of leadership. I think that definitely drives me to do more of it and to get better at it. And so again, that's my limited leadership experience thus far, and that's only going to compound as I continue to take those types of opportunities.
Absolutely. But I mean, I think the other piece of that is, just like you mentioned, John Maxwell, you're actually studying on how to become a better leader. Just not hinging on or relying on the success you've had so far, but figuring out how do I get to that next level as far as becoming an effective leader. So,
Yeah.
That's just part of, just like you said, just being a lifelong student.
And the other part of that is figuring out how to translate what you study and putting it into practice.
Yeah.
Because I can
Application.
learn. I know all about how to play NFL football, but if if you put me on the field, I'm not going to perform well. So it kind of that's a hard challenge to sort out too. Is
Yeah.
you study something in an academic context, how can I practically apply this to the work that I do every day?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you have to actually apply it at some point. Application.
that's an interesting analogy. I never thought about that.
Yeah.
I know everything about this one thing, but if I try to, that actually kind of reminds me of I think John Mulaney talks about that, the stand-up comedian.
Yeah.
He's like, I know everything there is to know about basketball, but then my brain doesn't communicate to my body, and I just look ridiculous.
That's pretty accurate.
So basically, Connor, we talked a little bit about this off camera, but what some companies do for lead gen and marketing, and I know you have a franchise. So what does the lead gen and marketing look like for you guys, and how does that work from getting someone from informational qualified lead to sales qualified lead?
So there are two sides to that, because there is an advantage to being a franchise. You do have a playbook for marketing, but you got to keep in mind that every territory is going to be a little bit different. So sources of leads that work in Michigan or in Texas may not work for us here in Raleigh. And so it has taken a fair amount of trial and error just to figure out what is going to work for us. And then the other thing is it works at varying degrees for different stages of business. So, for example, PPC is a very reactive source of lead flow, which is that it's going to react to people searching, for your business or the service that you provide. Now, for a new business, if no one's searching for you, it's going to be very hard to generate leads that way. Right. And so, it has been helpful to be a franchise and to have all the options on the table, but it's by no means been decisive and shown us exactly what to do, because we've still had to try out a certain amount of things. Does that answer your question? Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. I was definitely curious about starting your own company versus a franchise and what that kind of looks like. So it sounds like they give you a decent foundation, but there's still some trial and error, like you said.
Yeah, they put a lot of stuff on the table, and you've got to find what's going to work for your business. And so I think that's one of the main reasons that franchises have a much higher success rate than people going out and starting their own business, is because if you have to put all of your attention into finding out which options are out there, it's going to take you longer to get to where you want to go, rather than having all the options out there and all of your attention right off the bat being able to be focused on finding out what works for you. From a marketing perspective. You also alluded to sales. And that's another thing that I think is really cool about a franchise, is you do have a sales process that you go through, from the time that the lead comes in all the way to the time the customer is promoted. We have sales scripts and stuff like that, and processes that are established that are aimed at helping us convert that customer.
Yeah. I mean, and again, that's just like one of the benefits of a franchise. I mean, it's kind of a proven it is a proven process that they've actually tweaked and refined, and you just have to figure out how to make it work in your territory, which is awesome.
Absolutely.
I think you said your uncle was an investor in franchises.
That's right.
Okay. So I imagine he had a lot of, you pulled on him since he had a lot of experience as far as that's concerned. What are some of the things you guys were looking for as far as trying to identify the right franchise? How talk to me a little bit about how that step actually worked, or how you guys deciphered through that.
It was an interesting step, because I was, I kind of had my mind on pools, because that was what I knew. I was working in the swimming pool industry. And so I was set out to find something in an industry and something that I would love to do. I would love to do the work. Bringing in him and a family friend who's our third partner, they kind of brought the business perspective, which is analyzing, the opportunity, how is this going to serve our community, and how's it going to work from a business perspective? And so there was obviously that fact, which is determining the potential in this territory. But the other fact is the people, and they knew better than I did, obviously having been in business. They knew what a factor people were in business. And so that was a high priority for them, was finding people that we knew we wanted to work with, finding people whose values aligned with ours, because it would really suck to be in a position after we've signed a franchise agreement to get a year down the road and realize, hey, these people aren't exactly who they said they were. So finding people that we trusted were really priority number one. And then obviously the business and the numbers had to work out.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the things that not a lot of people pay too much attention to, is the actual people that you're doing business with, and making sure that your values and your culture are aligned. Because just like you said, I mean, at that point, it's almost like a marriage. I mean, you're married to that person in business, and you want to make sure that you guys are, talking the same talk and actually viewing things the same way.
100%.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So speaking of marriages, hey, Ron.
I'll let you know.
He's not there yet. Yeah.
Well, we had a date, and then we were, gonna buy a house, and now
Then you bought a puppy.
Oh, we didn't buy the puppy. I don't buy puppies. I don't think I've ever paid for a dog, so I wasn't about to start now.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
Well, we still he likes to eat, so we still had to buy food. But I'm curious, Connor, why
eat something.
I'm engaged. We were supposed to get married in May. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, I haven't seen my invite yet.
Things are crazy, man.
Yeah, it's been crazy.
Things are crazy.
Chuck, have you seen your invite?
No.
We can talk to the producer off camera, right? We can do that, right?
It's our show. We can do whatever we want.
All right.
You also still hear me.
We'll be all right.
Chuck said no.
So I'm just interested because I know, Connor, you said it's you and, two other guys that are like all part owners, and then, you have 3 employees, but why? I think I already know the answer to this, but why a franchise instead of, starting up your own thing?
Yeah, I mean, so my 2 business partners are involved in other franchises, so that was really what they were interested in doing. So I'm not going to pretend like we were evaluating a franchise versus not a franchise. But I mean, just in general, I
Sounds like they had a lot of success with in past instances and kind of been down that road.
And their other franchise is a Pilates studio. Like that. That's what's great about franchising, is because it presents such broad opportunities where I don't have to be a Pilates professional to own Pilates studios. I don't have to spend 20 years, mastering my craft as a window cleaner to run a world-class window cleaning franchise, because I buy into this system and I pay them a substantial royalty every month based on my revenue, but they provide so much support and they provide a system in place. Kind of my joke is that Shine was founded in 1999 and I was born in 1999. So they were learning, the lessons about.
I like that.
they were learning the lessons about how to run this business while I was learning how to use a spoon. And so it's pretty cool the way that works.
Yeah, it is. I mean, but that's what you're paying for. You're paying for that experience and that knowledge. I mean, you're basically accelerating the learning curve. And I mean, they've already made all the mistakes. They've already figured out all the stuff that you would figure out, that you go through the whole trial and error thing. So.
Absolutely. And we still make mistakes all the time and we learn lessons. But the point is, now I have a network of people, so I can call somebody up across the country who does the same thing that I do every day in the same business and say, hey, how do you deal with this?
Right.
And that's awesome.
There's value in that. Oh, tremendous amount.
So what would you say, Connor, because it sounds like one of the most valuable things that a franchise offers is basically the system that they have. What would you say would be some good things to look for in a good franchise, and what would cause you to stay away from a bad one as far as the systems and support that they offer?
It's a great question. I think the main thing that you can look for, and this is tough, but look at what the current franchisees are doing and talk to them. That was one of the steps in the discovery process when you're buying a franchise is validation calls. So you're calling up current franchisees, asking them about their experience, asking them about their relationship with the franchisor, and asking them how they're doing. Is this model proven to the degree that the franchisor is going to say that it is? And it's tough. The reason I say it's tough is because some of the best opportunities out there are in early stage businesses. They may not be as proven. If you're gonna go build a McDonald's right now, that's a proven
what kind of
model.
return.
But the problem is there's not a lot of opportunity there now.
Plus the cost as well.
Yeah,
you
exactly.
The franchise.
And so
cost,
some of the best opportunities are these emerging brands where they're not quite as proven yet, and so you don't have the same opportunity to validate. But I mean, that's classic risk versus reward in an investment.
Yeah. But I would imagine that just reaching out to the other franchisees, that the support component of it would be huge for me. I mean, like just asking them what kind of support the franchisor is actually providing, like as far as if I have a question, are they able to give me the right answers, and are they actually a good resource, or are they just taking my money and running every month?
Absolutely. Yeah. And the thing is if they are just taking your money and running every month, you're going to find out during that process. If you're talking with candid people, because chances are they're going to be pissed off at that, and not afraid to share. Yeah. So
due diligence is the.
So one of the reasons I ask is because my full-time job, I go business to business. So I see somewhere around 60 different businesses a day, and I walk into them all the time. In fact, I have a buddy that owns one that I'm like, I've literally never heard of this name. And then another one, it's a restaurant. It's got a sign up. It says now franchising, and I'm like, what? Like what? I'm just, especially if they only have one location. I'm like, can you actually say that your process is proven if you only have one location and now you're looking to franchise? Which, don't get me wrong, I've never done it, but I feel like at least 2 would be like, okay, we did it once here, we did it again here, and it worked. Now we're looking to franchise. But that would be some interesting questions to ask them. Like,
Yeah. Well, I mean, the question would be, why haven't you opened a second location? Is it because you're not going to make money? Then that's problematic for a potential franchisee.
Absolutely.
But I think the advantage of the franchise system, and it's mutually beneficial in the sense that the franchisor gets to bring on partners and bring on people who are embracing ownership, but still carrying out the brand and the business model of the franchisor. Then it's beneficial from the franchisee for the reasons that I've described. They get to buy into this system and channel all the lessons that the franchisor has learned along the way. And so, I don't know about the restaurant, but I would say, I would ask the question of why haven't you opened a second location? And if it's because you're apprehensive about whether or not it would do well, then I don't know why I would want to open one for you.
And I don't know why in this climate you're opening a restaurant, but that's a whole other issue, I guess. But I mean, well, no, that's not true. I guess there's some that are profitable.
I feel like, and now this is total speculation and kind of a little bit of a jerk in a different direction, but I feel like if I were to open a restaurant in today's world, knowing everything that just took place, I would capitalize a lot on curbside pickup and delivery.
Right. Yeah. Well, you would have to. I mean, it's kind of, yeah.
So I mean, what space would I need for that? I would probably look at how I could create possibly a larger outdoor area, like Raleigh Beer Garden had that from the get-go.
Yeah.
And have that available, and then make sure that my website and software is built and designed around me having an in-house delivery and ordering system, because I wouldn't want to pay. I've seen the restaurants that do DoorDash, Grubhub, Postmates, they do all of them, and they have to have a different device for all of them, and it comes in on each, and I'm like, that looks like a pain in the butt. Plus they have to pay their commission or whatever to each service.
Nothing's
and I'm
free.
like, bring it in-house, minimize the dine-in area, and do curbside and delivery. And
Well, there you go. So when is your restaurant opening?
Nobody would want to eat at my restaurant because I would only serve macaroni and cheese.
Gotcha. All right, well,
It's like I think it's called. Where are you from here?
From Winston-Salem.
Okay, so up in Michigan, I think it's in Grand Rapids or near Grand Rapids. There's a restaurant called the Twisted Rooster. That's one of their specialties. Is like macaroni and cheese. You can get like buffalo chicken macaroni and cheese. You can get all sorts of different ones. It's like a huge dish.
All right.
Shine was founded in Grand Rapids. Just a little fun fact.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I think that's a little okay. I know too many people from up there, and I'm not a huge fan of Michigan. Just not.
What do you have against Michigan? What?
That's another conversation. But I know a ton of people from there. I got a lot of good friends who were in the Army who are from there, and I actually ran the Tequamanon Falls run one year. What was that? 2011, I think. August 2011. We went across the Mackinac Bridge and ate at a burger joint where you couldn't understand the guy that was sitting at the bar. Sounded like the dude from Joe Dirt.
All right. I hope you never run for political office, because all of this is just going to be not good.
Yeah, I don't think we have to worry about that.
Okay.
But that was a good run. But and I like visiting Michigan. I would just not stay there for too long.
Yeah.
I do think it's kind of interesting that a window cleaning company started there when it's winter, like 11 and a half months out of the year up there.
Yeah, it is pretty cold. Now, with the window cleaning, do you guys do primarily commercial or residential, or is it kind of split?
Primarily residential. So right now we're about 95% residential in this area. It'll probably trend towards more that like 60-40 mark eventually.
Yeah.
But residential is a lot easier as a new business to market to. Commercial is much more about developing those relationships with property managers, realtors, and business owners. And so I think that'll come. But right now, primarily residential.
Perfect. I'm Gavin Vincent, and this is
Ryan Smelts. You've been watching the Afterbrews, and our guest this evening was
Connor Gross with Shine here in Raleigh.
there is Charles Mort of CNS Customs.
I don't wanna be